The Kiss. Love Stories from North America. Retold by Jennifer Bassett. Read by Laurel Lefko. Published and copyright Oxford University Press, 2013. The Kiss by Kate Chopin. It was still light out of doors, but inside, with the curtains closed and with only a little light from the fire, the room was full of shadows. Brantain sat in one of those shadows. The shadow had moved over him, and he did not mind. The darkness made him feel brave enough to stare for as long as he liked at the girl who sat in the firelight. She was very good-looking, with that fine, rich coloring often found in women with dark brown hair and brown eyes. She sat calmly, with her hands resting on the cat that lay sleeping on her knees. From time to time she sent a slow look into the shadow where the man sat. They were talking of unimportant things, which were clearly not the things they were thinking about. She knew that he loved her, a simple, honest man, not clever enough to hide his feelings, and with no wish to do so. For the past 2 weeks, at every tea party and every dinner party, he had been always at her side. She was sure he would soon ask her to marry him, and she meant to accept him. Brantain was dull and not at all good-looking, but he was extraordinarily rich, and she liked and wanted the kind of life that a rich husband could give her. During one of the pauses in their conversation about the last tea party and the next dinner party, the door opened, and a young man entered. Brantain knew him well. The girl turned her face toward him, but did not realize that he had not seen Brantain. In 3 steps, he was next to her chair and bending over her. Before she had any idea what he planned to do, he gave her a long, slow, burning kiss upon her lips. Brantain slowly stood up. The girl stood up too, but quickly, and the young man stood between them, amused and embarrassed at the same time. I believe, said Brantain uncomfortably, I see that I have stayed too long. I had no idea. That is, I must go. I must say goodbye. He was holding his hat with both hands, and probably did not see that she was holding out her hand to him. She was deeply embarrassed, and could not trust herself to speak. But I didn't see him sitting there, Natty. I know it's very embarrassing for you, but I hope you'll forgive me this once. Why, what's the matter? Don't touch me. Don't come near me, she replied angrily. What do you mean by it? Why did you enter the house without ringing? I came in with your brother, as I often do, he explained coldly. We came in the side way. He went upstairs, and I came in here, hoping to find you. The explanation is simple enough. It was just an accident, a mistake. But do say you forgive me, Natalie, he said in a softer voice. Forgive you? You don't know what you're talking about, said the girl. Let me pass. I have no idea, yet, if I will ever forgive you or not." At that next dinner party, which she and Brantain had talked about, she walked over to him with a wide smile, but with a worried look in her fine eyes. "Will you let me speak to you for a moment or two, Mr. Brantain?" she asked in a soft voice. He seemed deeply unhappy, but when she took his arm and walked away with him, searching for a quiet corner, a little hope brightened the misery on his face. She spoke out bravely. "Perhaps it was wrong of me to ask you for this talk, Mr. Brantain, but, I have been very uncomfortable, almost miserable, since that little meeting the other day. I wondered if you had misunderstood and perhaps believed things." Hope was beginning to win the battle over misery in Brantain's round, honest face. "Of course, I know it means nothing to you, but I do want you to understand that Mr. Harvey is a close friend of many years. Why, we have been almost like brother and sister, I may say. He is my brother's oldest, closest friend, and he often behaves just like one of the family. Oh, I know it is so unnecessary to tell you this. It's of no interest to you at all." She was almost crying now. "But it makes so much difference to me what you think of me." Her voice was now very low and unhappy. The misery had all disappeared from Brantain's face. "Then you do really care what I think, Miss Natalie? May I call you Miss Natalie?" They turned into a long garden room at the side of the house, full of tall plants. They walked slowly to the very end of it. When they turned to walk back, Brantain's face shone with happiness, and hers shone with the light of victory. Harvey was among the guests at the wedding, and he found her at a moment when she stood alone. "Your husband," he said, smiling, "has sent me over to kiss you." Her face flushed a deep pink. "I suppose it's natural for a man to behave generously at his own wedding. He tells me he doesn't want his marriage to break the close friendship between you and me. I don't know what you've been telling him," he said with an unpleasant smile. "But he has sent me here to kiss you." She felt she was playing her game successfully. This is what she had planned and wanted. Her eyes were bright and tender with a smile as they looked up into his, and her lips looked hungry for the kiss which they invited. "But you know," he went on quietly, "I didn't tell him this, because it would be ungrateful of me, but I can tell you. I've stopped kissing women. It's dangerous." Well, she had Brantain and his $1 million. A person can't have everything in this world, and it was a little unreasonable of her to ask for it.